At 30, you bounce. At 70, you break. When you're 30 years old, you bounce. You hop out of the truck before the engine even cools. You jog down the ramp carrying 4 fishing rods, a tackle box, and a cup of coffee. The boat deck might be wet. The wind might be howling. The ramp might be slick as owl snot. But none of that really matters. Your knees are young. Your back is strong. Your balance is something you never even think about. At 30, you don't climb into a bass boat, you jump into it. At 70, you calculate every move. You open the truck door, you pause for a second, not because you're tired, but because you're thinking to yourself, that ramp down there looks wet. That aluminum trailer fender looks slippery. That wind is pushing the boat sideways, and you've got 2 knees that have already been replaced by a surgeon that you're confident you probably paid for his boat. At 30, you bounce, and at 70, you break. Getting in and out of the boat can become a small engineering project. One hand on the console, one hand on the trailer tire. Shift your weight slowly. Test the deck before you commit. And if it's raining, which in Florida is a pretty good chance, you move like a man crossing an icy sidewalk in Ohio. Carefully, very carefully. And then there's the crawling. At 30, we used to drop right down on our hands and knees and not give it a second's thought. Crankbait rolls under the seat, no problem. The jig falls into the corner of the deck, down you go. You tie on a new lure on the front deck like a mechanic working under your car. Then you pop back up like a jack-in-the-box. At 70, getting down on your knees is still possible. It's getting back up that becomes the adventure. 2 artificial knees creaking like old dock boards. You grab the trolling motor shaft for leverage, maybe the seat post, maybe the gunnel. You rise halfway, kind of pause, look around, and then stand up like a newborn calf, trying to remember how your legs are supposed to work. And sometimes, and this part nobody talks about, you stand up and the world tilts just a little. Your balance just isn't what it used to be. That big flat deck that once felt like a dance floor feels about as wide as a 2x4. One wrong shift of weight, and suddenly you're doing the old fisherman shuffle, trying not to go overboard, which, if we're honest, is every angler's nightmare. Not the fish getting away, falling in the lake, especially when the water's cold and the boat's drifting and your knees don't bend the way they used to. And that's something we old guys need to talk more about, because at 30, falling in the water is embarrassing. But at 70, it can be life-threatening. If you slip in the ramp while loading the boat, the first rule is simple: don't panic. That concrete ramp is slick, and even young guys go down hard. And try to roll over onto your side and get your feet under you before you try to stand. Grab the trailer, the winch post, anything solid. But if, God help you, you fall out of the boat, man, take a deep breath. The boat is still your best friend. Stay with it. Grab the gunnel, the motor, the ladder, if you've got one. Most bass boats sit low enough in the water that you can actually pull yourself back in if you're strong enough, especially if you use the motor bracket or step on the cavitation plate. If this is where something simple can save your life, you need to remember to wear your life vest. I know. I know. Most of us old guys, we hate those damn things. We say they're hot, they're uncomfortable, they're always in the way. But I tell you, if you hit your head when you fall, or if the wind pushes that boat away from you, that life vest becomes the difference between a bad story and a visit from the local police to your wife. Just keep that in mind. And keep a throw cushion where you can reach it. That little square flotation cushion, most guys shove under the boat seat or in a compartment under a half dozen boxes of lures. Needs to be out where you can reach it. And not just to satisfy a regulation. If you're struggling in the water, you can possibly reach over the side of the boat and pull it out and hug it like a life preserver. And if your buddy falls in, you can toss it to him. It might not look like the most important thing in the boat, but when you need it, it has a lot of importance at that point. Until the day the most important thing in the boat is saving your life, here's the truth most of us fishermen understand. We know we're not as steady as we used to be. We know the ramp is slick, and we know the deck feels smaller. And we know the body just doesn't bounce back the way it used to. But we keep going anyway, because the lake still calls us. You know, the sound of that trolling motor in the morning, that first cast into that little cove, that quiet little stretch of water that nobody else seems to know about. That moment when the line jumps and for a few seconds you forget how old you are. Fisherman has a way of doing that. Out there in the water, you're no longer 70. Age really doesn't factor in. You're that kid that's learning how to cast. You're the young man who could fish all day without his back hurting. And the older guys like us, you begin to understand just how precious these early mornings really are. So be careful. Just be careful at the ramp. Take your time getting in and out of the boat. And wear that life vest, even if you don't like it. Because there's still a lot of sunrises left to fish. Have you ever slipped at the ramp? I have. Or fallen out of the boat? I have. Every fisherman seems to have their own story. If you have, share it down in the comments section so the rest of us can learn from it and maybe get a laugh or two. And if you like the stories about fishing, about getting older, and the lessons the water teaches us, subscribe to my channel. You see, the truth is, at 30, you bounce. At 70, you break. But if you're lucky enough to still be fishing, you may still have a little bounce left. Thanks for watching, folks.